Hey, you're listening to Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0. As always, I'm Grady Hooker, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Hey,
We'll start off with Raw. If I've learned anything from Raw this week, it is, don't get in the way of Brock Lesnar.
yeah, you'd think they would learn not to have things in the ring whenever Lesnar's around.
I don't think they'll
There
ever
were several
learn that.
times when he was throwing the Miztourage around that he almost threw him into the chairs.
Brock Lesnar is a force you can't stop. You might as well just give him everything and everything to throw people into. But it did its bit. Miz is constantly getting attacked on Raw at this point. It's pretty much his job. Just sit there, annoy someone, get beat up by someone.
And put over a baby face.
Yeah, pretty much. But his potential opponent in a feud, Jason Jordan, fights a local competitor. And I wouldn't say things don't go well, but it's not the most raucous crowd behind him.
But that was because it was a French Canadian that he was wrestling.
What a smart decision by the WWE. Sometimes you can question what they do, and there's like a little bit of logic there, and you're like, okay, I can see why they did that. Maybe there's a better way to do it. I don't understand this decision. I don't understand putting a nice hot baby face that you're trying to get over up against essentially a hometown boy. But as I say, I don't know. WWE do things. I'm not always privy to why they decide to do their things. But sometimes we do know the reasons, such as why Bayley is no longer booked for SummerSlam. As we feared last week, her injury is in fact actually pretty darn bad, or at least in storyline. I haven't heard anything towards the legitimacy of her injury. And next week we'll get Sasha versus Nia to see who will replace her.
Which probably means we'll get Sasha versus Alexa. Which if you listen to Bring It to the Table, that's the match fans wanted anyways.
Yeah. I was perfectly fine with our Alexa Bayley, despite the match we had last time. We'll see what happens. There's a very, 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 very slim chance that we get Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss, but is still sitting there as an option, but it still seems as though they're at least a little too buddy-buddy to blow off potential stuff down the line just for like a one-off match at SummerSlam. But I never know with Sasha. She seems to come and go in terms of her like believability. I don't know if believability is the right word there, but like, you know, one week she'll be amazing and able to take one-on-one with the champion, and the next week it's just like, it's more Sasha. She's here, I guess. But to get to this point, both of those women had to fight in qualifying matches, which is a little interesting. It meant we got pretty much all of the women's roster for Raw out. I don't know if we missed out anyone. I didn't read down a list or anything, but it meant everybody got their little bit of a turn on Raw this week.
Yeah, I think the only ones missing were the ones that have been out for injuries or is named Paige.
Fair enough on that one. But yeah, and was Eva Marie? She was Smackdown, right? I think she was Smackdown.
Eva Marie was SmackDown, yes.
Either way, we'll talk about her.
Yeah, the only other person that I can think of would have been Summer Rae.
Who I believe is still injured list.
Yeah, but I think her career's pretty much over.
Okay.
She had some serious injuries.
Well, we'll wait and see in terms of her returning, and we'll see what happens. There's always the potential for a non-contact role, or you know, just disappearing off into the ether, much like Eva Marie did. As it seems as though there was I'm going to read the quote. WWE and Eva Marie have mutually agreed to contractually part ways. Fancy way of putting neither of them really wanted the other person right now.
Yeah.
Which, I know, you know, she was popped for the wellness violation, which kind of put a halt to it anyway, but the path they seem to be going with the false intros, or, you know, the switch outs and the reasoning and the the epic announcer. It definitely had her getting to a point where she was pretty damn hype, you know. We're sitting there pretty much ready for her to come out and debut. Even if she wasn't going to be the best in the ring, she was going to have a character there. She had a reason, she had motivations, she had all of these things that a lot of characters nowadays are lacking, and then boom, wellness, on the shelf for God knows how long, and now is just going to disappear off.
And honestly, Alexa Bliss is kind of getting the push that she probably would have had.
It's always interesting with things like wellnesses and things with injury to look back at it and be like, I wonder what the landscape would have been had that not happened. Because I'm sure it was a while ago now. I don't have the exact date on me, but if Eva Marie had still been around at that point, what would have happened? It was August last year. So we're coming up pretty much a year since she got popped.
My guess is if she hadn't gotten popped, she would have been the first SmackDown Women's Champion. Not Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
Becky probably would have overcome her a couple months later to become the champion, but she wouldn't have been the first champion.
Yeah. But no, it's always interesting to like look back in retrospect and be like, maybe that person sort of did what they were going to do, or maybe that storyline got passed over to this person, or bits and pieces were chopped up and given to other people. But for now, Eva Marie's gone. She rode the WWE hype train for 4 years. She said in her Twitter tweet. Then honestly, it didn't feel like 4 years, but hey. We'll jump back to Raw since we sort of diverted over to Eva Marie for a little while. Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, they're hyping up their match. They're getting ready to go at it. Are we going to see the Demon at SummerSlam?
Yeah, but let's hope he doesn't blow out his shoulder again.
Was that the last time we saw him?
That was the last time we saw the Demon, yes.
Okay. So
unless he appeared when I didn't notice him.
So on the main roster, the Demon has been injured in 100% of the matches he's participated in?
On the main roster? Yes. No, in the matches, yes.
Yeah.
He's appeared one other time, and that was on the Raw before SummerSlam.
I don't count that. It wasn't a match.
No.
So let's hope he can break that statistic come SummerSlam. There's a whole lot of bad mojo behind him, bad juju. But I'm fingers crossed. It was again another one where it just sort of sidelined what seemed to be a lot of plans. You know, just won the Universal Championship. Again, I don't know what would have happened had he remained the champion. If it would have been much different of a landscape right now.
I don't know. It's clear Kevin Owens wouldn't have gotten the title reign he got.
Which was damn interesting. So I don't know. I'm not saying it was a great thing Finn got injured, but it was great for Kevin Owens. And you know, bounce it around and see that I think a lot of different things would have happened had Finn remained champion, had his little run. I don't know what we would have done WrestleMania-wise, but it doesn't matter. It happened. And hopefully Finn can stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the question.
If we're also looking at the next one, we got Big Show and Cass. It is set for SummerSlam, but we're gonna dangle little Enzo in a shark cage because that's what we do now. We just love to put people in shark cages.
Yeah, I hope they give Enzo a mic, because that will be hilarious. Although I hope they would have given Chris Jericho one, and they didn't.
It's always it can go really well, it can go really bad when you put a gimmick like the shark cage in there. We'll see.
Yeah, regardless, the shark cage is kind of a metaphor for what Enzo is doing to his own career.
I was wondering if we'd get to this.
Because he's majorly screwed himself up backstage.
When it rains, it pours. So little
and it's
information.
Self-inflicted. It's self-inflicted, too. It's not like it's somebody's just out to get him. He's doing it to himself.
Yeah, it's at least for me, I never sort of noticed anything untoward, at least like rumor-wise on the internet, like, oh, Enzo did this and maybe people backstage hate him, and then all of a sudden, it may have been last week, but this week, poop has really hit the fan, and it's like, Enzo got thrown off the tour bus on this way, he's bringing people backstage he shouldn't have, and he's bragging about this stuff on the phone, and it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, and it all started with the that stripper
Yeah.
talking trash about him, and then it came out that on the European tour he was annoying people who were trying to sleep and rest while they were on the bus with this conversation, then was respecting the business but talking about it, and then Roman, who's become the unheralded locker room leader, threw him off the tour bus. And then last weekend, he brought people back that had not been cleared for security, and then stuff went missing. And he pretty much has nobody left to defend him.
Enzo, man, as you said, it's all self-inflicted. You couldn't write it better. If, this was... It's not. If this was a storyline, you couldn't write it better. This is, like, exactly sort of like a waterfall of just poop he's done wrong, all coming out at once. And I'm assuming post the feud with Cass, he may reap the repercussions.
It's definitely not in a good thing, that's for sure.
We got a little bit of a promo from Goldust telling us what we might be seeing at SummerSlam.
Yep, it seems we're going to be moving on to our next storyline, it looks like. Rather, depending on what they do, that'll be interesting to me. Personally, I think I'd like the Starlet route, because I'd like to see if somebody could hang with him from the women's division.
Yeah. Women's division sort of mixing in with the men's at the moment. It seems as though Dana Brooke may be joining the Titus brand as well, just to mention it in passing, but Goldust, his promo definitely just sort of seemed like, I will outline my next feud at SummerSlam, deal with it. And we did sort of sit there and hope for one more good run, so fingers crossed we get that out of this. Main event, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, last man standing. Thumbs up.
Yep, definitely a great match. These two always bring out the best in each other, and they've got a chemistry that hasn't been seen in a while between them.
Yeah.
And I have to think that they're probably pretty good friends.
Yeah, there's always, there's people who can hate each other and have great chemistry in the ring, but most of the time you're going to see a little bit of a personal friendship develop, and then, especially if you're wrestling them, on the live event circuit 3 times a week.
I still laugh at them sharing, Titus sharing the photos of them when they were on the European tour, and you had Braun and Roman together. It's like, even when you're not finished with someone, but everybody deserves a vacation.
Yep. If anything, I didn't think I could get more hype for the Fatal 4-Way. This has made me more hype. Reigns, Strowman, and Joe honestly are going to be the standout parts of this. You could erase Brock Lesnar's name off of the booking, and it wouldn't be any different. Which is not normally the case when it's a Brock Lesnar match.
The only thing that bothered me was that Joe only attacked Roman. If you were thinking that it was going to be, but the Fatal 4-Way is supposed to be everybody for themselves, you'd think you would have laid out Braun as well.
Yeah. I definitely see the logic there. I think maybe, because we still got another week, I'm assuming. 20th of August. Yeah, we got one more week.
Yeah, we have one more Raw.
So we could still see that, all-on-all mentality come out the very next week. It could be sowing the seeds of Joe. He doesn't look like a man who fears anything, but everybody fears death. So he may fear Strowman a little bit. I don't know. we'll have to wait and see how it's going to develop. I think the Fatal 4-Way is going to be great no matter what, though. And that's the main point coming out of this. Righty-ho, well, we'll get into our, I'd say, entrance theme of the week. Not really an entrance theme. Our musical performance of the week. And, yeah, we'll play it for you now. And you're back with the Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 99.0, Grady and Josh. We're on the Smackdown half of things now. We're going to start it off with John Cena versus Baron Corbin. It's a thing. Is it going to be good?
I think it will be. Because Corbin's a lot better than he has as of late. He's improved a lot, and I think he could do a lot, benefit a lot from working with Cena. And Cena is, of course, Cena.
Yeah. I do worry, Cena is Cena, and Baron Corbin is currently holding the Money in the Bank briefcase. The odds are not looking in Baron Corbin's favor to walk out the winner, but it is the Cena of new rather than the Cena of old, so don't know.
Yeah, but that briefcase also gives him the option of still being king of the heel at the end of the night anyway. So that does put the sting off of it a little bit if he does lose to Cena. Because the odds are, if Nakamura wins the championship, there's a probability of about 80% that he'll hold the title for about 5 minutes.
I think that might be a little high.
Yeah, it'll be about a Daniel Bryan reign, which I think is why I chose the SummerSlam theme that I chose.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, we'll lump it in. Jinder Mahal, obviously WWE champion, took a loss to Randy Orton without the Singh brothers there. Are we laying the seeds of Jinder without the Singh brothers maybe easy for Nakamura to win?
It is possible, I suppose. But I think it was also part of reestablishing Randy and for the feud with Rusev, just to get him one clean shot over Mahal.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't hurt Mahal that much. I mean, because he is the WWE champion.
Yeah, we always say that, it doesn't hurt him too much. It doesn't hurt him too much if it's 1 or 2 losses. It starts hurting him a lot when he's taking losses every other week. But yeah, it seems right here. Randy Orton picks up the win over Jinder. He still put up a performance against him, but without the Singh brothers there, did lose. Fashion Peaks. We get part 2. We get an awesome Arn Anderson segment. Other than that, I don't think we explain who the attackers are any better or any worse.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll figure out by SummerSlam. Because while this has been entertaining, I think it's starting to get to the point where it's just gone on just a little too long.
So it's like David Lynch's Twin Peaks then. Yeah, it seems as though they got a lot of... I don't know if it was always the plan, but it seemed like they got a lot of mainstream media stuff for their Twin Peaks parody last week. So they tried to do it this week. This week felt a lot weaker. There was a lot more of the revival and not the tag team, season 3 of Twin Peaks floating around, but we'll see.
That may have been intentional, so.
It's just good for them that Twin Peaks named their 3rd season the revival. But yeah, I'm still definitely voting either.
Speaking of the revival.
Oh, yep. Forgot to mention it.
You get one back and the other gets injured.
Can we chalk these guys up as like worst luck of 2017?
Yep. I think we should. I think they definitely qualify.
It's not pretty, especially when that the Club versus the Hardys versus the Revival match was just so tantalizing. It was right there. It could have been amazing. It could have been exactly the thing the Revival needed for their careers, and now it ain't happening, or presumably.
And by the way, Jeff Hardy was non-existent because he can't leave the United States.
Gotta love Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, that's consequences you get when you're arrested for drugs.
He made a bad decision, and now he lives with his decision.
Yep.
But yeah, I was really, fingers crossed at this triple threat tag team, and I don't know. I don't know the extent of his injury at the moment, so
They announced it was a ruptured bicep. That's something that's going to take months to heal from.
that's bad. That's
Yeah.
not good. Well, we'll just get Club versus Hardys, and I guess the triple threat can happen in like 3 months' time, or however long it takes them. Again, I don't know. It seems like everybody becomes a Google MD by the time someone gets injured. It's like, oh, I know exactly how long that will take. And it's, everybody's just Googled it. That's all anybody's ever done. Go to Google, type in what happened, and like, it's going to be 3 to 6 months. Done.
Or it's cancer.
Yep, with Google, it's always cancer. SmackDown Women's Division. It's our last thing we got to hit. Carmella managing to beat Naomi.
Yeah, it's definitely setting up for. It's possible we might get both cash-ins on the same night.
I was going to
Which
bring
is
up
something
that.
I don't think it's ever happened before.
Yeah, I was going to bring up that possibility. I definitely think that's what I'm leaning towards at the moment. I'm leaning towards double cash-in. I think the first one by Carmella, presuming the female or the women's match goes on first of the two, will make you, I guess, not expect Baron Corbin. We already had one cash-in, we can't have a second one, and then boom, Baron Corbin comes out. It's what I'm
But that makes
expecting.
me worried that one of them will lose.
Mm-hmm. It would make you worry, that wouldn't it? I don't know which one, honestly. I'm angling
Would not
for Baron
surprise
to
me if
win,
it was
so
Carmella.
yeah. If I had to pick, and it was purely me picking on heart, not head, I would pick Baron Corbin to win and Carmella to lose, if one of them had to lose. But
I was sitting there trying to think, how long has James Ellsworth been gone? Oh, there he is.
Yep, he just pops right back onto your television and nobody really cares. Yeah, he's there. He's a thing. He's a character. He's doing his thing. Pretty much all I can say about James Ellsworth. Still in that women's division though, Lana failing to defeat Charlotte. We're going to ignore the wardrobe malfunction and stick to the storyline and match content here.
Not I missed the match.
Pretty much Lana was made to look like a chump the entire way through it. It seems as though she definitely went from almost winning the SmackDown Women's Championship against Naomi to losing, after 2 minutes and then losing in 10 seconds and now being a chump at rapidly decreasing kayfabe match, I don't know, kayfabe strength, I guess, in the ring. I don't know what's going to be next. It seems as though with Tamina she's going to be sticking around at least a little bit longer with the two, but it definitely seems as though Lana is doing stuff for Tamina and not the other way around. Almost in like a servant-y type role.
That would be something different for Tamina. Tamina's almost always been the bodyguard.
Yeah.
For her to be over in command of somebody, that would be different, new,
She's the boss.
but
Yeah.
not a legit.
Yeah, it's a really bad joke. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see after SummerSlam, obviously, whether the cash-in happens, what else we're going to be getting with that women's division. Fingers crossed something big's going to happen for them. We still have a couple storylines, we do have Tamina, Lana, and the title, but I'm much more interested in the Carmella Naomi feud and Lana Tamina, possibly Charlotte, I don't know. Almost forgetting the point that Natalya is the number one contender.
Which is sad.
It was such a weird pick from the number one contenders match, and it seems as though, I don't want to say this sounds really bad, know that I don't mean harm by it. It's almost like they regret their decision on who to pick as the number one contender. Like, we just needed someone, so I guess you go in the place. It's like, we're not going to focus on you at all. I don't know. It sucks, but I don't know. I have nothing else to say.
It is what it is.
Yep. You have to say that a lot more in wrestling, I think, than people do. You just need to resign to the fact that it is what it is, and you can't change it. Simple as that. Rightio, well, that's all we got time for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Baby.
Visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Wrestling Roundup Radio, Twitter page, twitter.com/Wrestling R Radio. And we'll see you next week.
From the look on their face, it's like the prize right in front of my eyes.